In the last video, we covered how to do shoulder rolls. And in this one, we're going to talk about slap-outs and then how to incorporate them into your roll so that you can have a much safer drop or fall if you're ever thrown. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it. Welcome to Shihan's Dojo. I'm Shihan Marty Husband, and I'm here today to help you build your skills and knowledge in the martial arts. Before I get started, I want to stress how important it is when you're trying to do these new techniques or ideas of rolls, if you've never done them before, that you should have somebody competent enough to teach you or knows what they're doing. I stressed this in the other video before this, so you can go back and listen to what I have to say there, or if you haven't seen it, go right up here and check it out, because you'll need to know what we're doing in order to be a lot safer in this practice and training. The first thing we're going to go over is a slap out. Now, you may think a slap out is pretty simple, but it is probably the most integral part of many of the different falls that you'll have to do in your martial arts. A slap out helps you to distribute your weight evenly across the board when you're thrown. That way you can disperse the energy without hurting yourself. We're only going to show you part of the side slap outs today. We'll cover it another time on what they're for, like in sweeps and all that there. But you need to understand the beginning part of this in order to add it into your rolling slap out. Once you've done that, you will cross your legs in front of the one that is on the ground and then curve your body as much as possible so you can have a smooth roll. It will take you a little bit to figure out the proper curve, because some of you will hit the ground in two plumps, if you know what I mean, because you'll hit your bottom and then you'll roll onto your side. You've got to learn to roll your whole body so the hip doesn't stop you when you drop down. You have to make sure you're landing on your side and not your back. I can't tell you how important it is to prevent certain injuries to your back in order to do it this way. Also, in doing this, you'll see the slap out hand comes down by the legs, what I call 2 fists away. The front hand and front leg, since they are the part that is landing on its side, needs to make sure that they work in unison. At first, I would make sure your body's going down and then wait and slap out. Later on, as you get good, you can have the timing of slapping out at the same time. One thing to do, though, make sure when you land, you study where your hand and your knee positions are, and we'll talk about a few of these here in a second, because it's important that you understand how your body's supposed to feel when it stops. You also want to make sure that your arm is not too high above your shoulder. There's a chance you might have in dislocating your arm if you don't know how to slap out properly. The slap out also goes equally for knowing how far away it is from your knee. I've seen many students go out there and think they know what they're doing and then land on their hand and mess it up, break their thumb. I once black belt broke his thumb because he didn't land properly and slap out properly. Students don't often realize the dangers that they have when they're trying to practice new things, and will often try to do more than they should. So I want you to be aware of this for the safety purposes. Take the slap out slow. It may look simple, but it's very important that your body understands it as well as your mind. These slap outs we're doing will not necessarily be exactly like the rolling slap outs, but it will teach you the feeling you need when you come down. If you notice when I land on the ground that my legs are separated, this isn't to prevent groin injuries or any injuries down that could be a problem. Don't forget to make sure you practice with both legs in order to get the feeling in case you get swept on one side or the other. Now, understanding how you can evenly distribute your weight, try to make sure when you hit the side of the body and the slapping of the floor and the legs, they're almost at the same time when doing it. If you hit the hip the wrong way, the sciatic nerve will kick in, and believe me, it'll be 20 minutes or more before you can walk, especially if you're not hitting a soft surface. Now, as you can see in this exercise, I'm stomping my back foot too. Now, a lot of people, I start them off by teaching them how to keep their legs spread apart, but the stomping of the foot is very important because it also too helps you to redistribute that weight and safely proceed with that type of a fall without hurting yourself. Some injuries that can happen is if your feet are going too far forward, you can actually stomp on your ankle and hurt yourself, or worse. But understand that the leg has to be behind the other leg at a little bit of a distance in order to help. It also is the best method to help distribute that weight in order for you to prevent injuries and that there. Now we're going to add this to the shoulder roll. And as we did before with the shoulder roll, we're going to start down low on one knee and basically go from right shoulder to our left glutes. But as we're going around to our left glutes, instead of rolling up, we will slap out to the side and stop ourselves. This type of roll and slap out is used specifically when someone is holding onto your arm and you need to roll and slap out to prevent any injuries. However, you really have to understand how that shoulder roll goes in and works with that slap out combination. As you can see, when I'm doing this here, I'm rolling like I did in the first video and basically stopping. I might slide a little bit depending on how much momentum I've got, but we're doing it slow right now, so it shouldn't be too much momentum for you. Again, we're going over here to the opposite side of the body and slapping out. You need to take your time in learning this and understanding your body's position when you're doing the slap outs. And make sure your knees are landing the same way you did with the first part of the drill where you were just doing the slap out. Make sure you always train both sides in case something happens that somebody throws you away you didn't expect. Take your time studying it. Understand how to handle the situation and what it's doing for you. Next, you should start this from a stand-up position. Again, take your time on that. Try not to build up any speed and don't dive for the floor. Learn to roll with the floor just like you did when you were on your knee. There's something about students who see that, they think they have to dive in and they hurt their shoulders. I can't stress that enough. Make sure that your roll is smooth and your slap out is landing properly, even from that stand-up position, because your mind changes because you feel like you're higher when you're actually not. You're just actually speeding up that roll out instead of slapping out from a low distance. Once you've learned how to roll and slap out smoothly and continuously, this next exercise will help you to move fluidly and keep going safely. Just remember, safety is the primary goal for this, and once you've accomplished, it is less likely to get injured when you are thrown. Once you've accomplished this type of a roll and slap out, it will be easy for you to transition in the air and actually know where you are before hitting the ground and control it. That's the important thing you've got to understand here. If you can't fall, you don't need to be throwing. Now I like to use different tools to help out the students better. I like them to feel what it is that it's going to be like when they're thrown and dropped, and I use this gymnastics mat. I don't know what it's called, but have found it quite useful in letting others safely understand how it feels to be dropped. The athlete basically rolls their shoulder over on the pad like they're rolling into bed and let the pads drop them to the floor so they can practice their side slap out. This will give the student a little more confidence in that on how things are going to happen when they are thrown. It also gets the student less afraid of the ground, because that's the main problem people have when trying to learn these types of rolling, is that they're afraid of the ground. It'll also give them a feel of how much control they really have over their body if they want it. It's something I make all my students do when learning this to help speed up the process of their body being able to feel what's going on. Now on this last little one here, I'm just having my student go fast, and basically they're just touching the top of the mat and rolling over and flopping. That way they have the idea of what it's like for themselves, and having that mat there just as a pacifier, if you want to call it that. Later on, you can use a stick or something and have them go over and roll and slap out over the top of a stick. Don't swing the stick, just hold it about knee high and have them go. If you do not have a pad, see if you can find some of those mats that are flat that you can roll over the top, or get something up that's at least about the average knee height for everybody, and have them roll off of it to the side. Some people I've seen use partners and they can roll off them and do it, but that can be a little jarring and hurt your partner if you're too eager, or you dive, or you don't know quite how to go down yourself. I will try to include that possibly in a future warm-up video that I'm looking into doing. Now, if you're here for the first time, jab that subscribe button and punch the bell so we can notify you when each and every video comes out. Tell your friends and share it with them so we can have Shihan's Dojo grow, and give us comments down there so we can help you with problems you have or things you might want to know that we aren't going to be able to think of. We'll try to get back to your comments and questions just as soon as possible, and maybe if we're lucky we can do a few of those ideals in another video in the next few weeks after your comment. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you again next time on Shihan's Dojo.